Hey guys, welcome back to Panzer Garage. Today I'm going to take you through part 2 of the Wittmann first Tiger, turret number 411. This is the Academy model kit with the interior as described in part 1. Today I'm going to take you through where we're up to. You've really got to consider this two models, I suppose. The exterior and the interior. It takes a little while. I've had a few problems with this the last couple of days. I've had a couple of last couple of weeks. Tried a couple of different paint schemes inside, done some more research, and found some different colour choices. And I'll take you through those in a minute. I also had a decal issue. I used some dry transfers from Arches, but I can say never use dull coat, Tester's dull coat on top of your dry transfers because they'll run. Too much pressure in the can, so use just your normal varnish in like your Humbrels type varnish in a can with a bit of thinners and put in your airbrush. So I'm just waiting for those decals to arrive, some new sets, and I'll sort of show you what happened today with that. That sort of set me back a little bit as well. So I'll take you through where we're at. As sort of indicated last time in the instructions, issues with the instructions and the paint. The paint colour coding for the interior is not entirely correct. The dark grey that they tell you but to use below the sponsons, the interior green above the sponsons and in the turret, that's not correct. So I'll take you through what I used. Internally I undercoated the vehicle in Tamiya red oxide, which is, you can see that on the exterior of the vehicle. I haven't painted the exterior yet. So that's undercoated on the inside, and then various colours on the inside. Now, with some research, the closest colour, it's RAL 7009, I think, off the top of my head. The closest colour to that is Humbrel 115, but I can't get Humbrel 115. So the closest I used was Revell 67, which is a green grey paint, pretty much the same colour as the Humbrel. And then that I used that in the lower, below the sponsons. I'll show you that in a minute. Then above the sponsons I used Model Master's interior buff, which is a very good colour that kind of meets the ivory type colour for above the sponsons and in the turret. Now, depending on your references, what you'll use, you'll come across various different colours, whether it was more of a bluish grey below or a green grey below, or more of an off-whitey beige or ivory colour for the top, or a yellowy type colour for the top. So depending on who you go with, you'll have to make that decision, I suppose. But I used some photos from Bovington. I used this book as well, which has got some indications in there in front as well. World of Tanks, actually, wargaming.net, on YouTube, if you Google them, they actually did a tour of the Bovington Tiger internally over a 5-part series for the Bovington Tiger tank, and it'll take you through some of the internals. Now on the video it looks more of a bluey kind of colour, bluey greeny colour. However, I don't believe that's the exact colour. It's similar to what they use, but I don't think it's the exact colour. From what I've read, and I'll put those on the in the text part of the below the video. It's more of a greyish green colour. David Bryden makes some comments on some of his website, tiger1.info. on that as well. So without sort of further ado, I'll sort of take you up to where we are. Firstly, you'll notice that there's rounds in there. They're Tamiya brass rounds that I purchased. Now you could use those, or you could use the ones with the vehicle. You can decide firstly whether to keep the shells brass, or you could make them metal, because the Germans sort of ran out of brass and they made a lot of their shell cases in metal, which will have a normal metal colour, so you could do it that way. You'll see the HE rounds here with a yellow and a silver tip, or the slightly shorter AP rounds which are black with a white tip that you could use as well. So there's some options for you to sort of follow there. But if we look at the hull of the vehicle, you'll see that pretty much everything below the sponsons and in the engine bay compartment, internally below the sponsons here, it's all grey-green. The instructions talk about a metal colour here, metal colour in here, metal colour for the engine. The engine and the radiator and fuel tanks I'll deal with separately in a minute, but pretty much below the sponsons is grey-green. So if you keep that, you can't go wrong. Now you'll see that there's a bit of red oxide and that in there, and that's a bit of chipping that I used using the Mascal. So I'll put the iron oxide on first, then using a sponge or a scourer, I put a bit of Mascal in different places, just sort of dabbled it on a bit, and then sprayed over the top, and then scrape the Mascal off. With Mascal, I don't use a brush, just use a spray. If you use a brush, it'll actually rub the Mascal off, so don't do that. So in here, I'll deal with the front of the vehicle and work my way backwards. You can see the transmission, the radio equipment, and the dials for the driver here. So if I just sort of show you in there, you can see various colours and that were used for the dial there. I'll just sort of bring this light around and see if I can shine any more light into it. So there you go. There you'll see the large dial actually towards the front of the vehicle is black with white, with a white needle and white face. But the main face, the main background of the speed dial is black. Next to it you have two more dials, one on top of each other. They're white with black on top. And then next to that you've got a smaller dial again, that's black with a white needle, and below that is a red engine light and a starter button which is black. Then across next to that you have a various set of other handles and features which are black, and you'll see a sort of a white runner running down beside that, which is actually the interior buff colour, and that's just got a lot of writing on it in reality there, so hopefully you can see that. The other side is the radio equipment, pretty much black dials except for the two centre ones here, and the white with black needle, which you can sort of paint in as well. The steering wheel, most of the working parts in both regions, as I'll sort of go through, are black. So the actual handle of the steering wheel, the outside is black. The internal sort of parts of the steering wheel are metal, so they'd be silver. Working our way backwards, you can see the Revell 67 greenish grey colour in here from the sponsons below. So it's not as exciting as maybe the instructions want you to paint it, but this is pretty much correct. Then we go to the back. I'll cover the interior buff in a minute, but then we go to the back. The actual inside, so if you take all this equipment out, that's grey-green as well. Now the engine, the instructions want you to paint like a metal-y colour. At the time when they made the engines, they were made out of predominantly cast iron. There was a couple later on that had an aluminium head on it, but these were cast iron, which is generally going to be a blackish colour. So I painted it in a sort of metallic black with a wash over the top, and then some dull coat over the top of that with white filters. Now bear in mind, this hasn't been washed yet, so there's no pin wash in here, no black wash or anything like that. Once I add some of those effects in here, these colours are going to slightly dull down and change, so they'll look a bit more dirty, that sort of thing. 2 fuel tanks here, they're generally like a metal-y stainless steel colour in the Tigers, so you can paint them metal stainless steel. Now I don't know if you can see it, but my paint is chipped because of the dull coat that I put on it, so I need to fix that up. Now if we go back, moving backwards, you've got the 2 radiators. The front of the radiators are, as in the mesh of the radiators, are a metal-y colour. Now you'll notice here that the top of the radiators are 2 different colour. That's black, and that's the greyish green, the same as the internal of the hull. Black and greyish green. If you look at the radiators, they're actually 2 different, slightly different. You'll see that the caps are different. This actually, the black one has, which is on the right hand side of the vehicle, looking forward, the right side, has a steam vent. So if a Tiger tank overheats, you'll notice that the steam will come out of the right side of the vehicle, out through the vents, not the left side. Left sides are closed, that's more of a closed circuit, so the steam vent's only on this side. So when manufacturing sort of came about, they colour coded the 2. So that was the grey green went to the left and the black went to the right side. So if you do it those colours, you'll be good. Moving back, again, just next to the radiator fans there, a grey green, same as the hull. So again, not that exciting. And then the fans themselves in the area there is sort of again a steel sort of colour. I did paint it a slightly different colour to the tanks. I sort of wanted to keep them more like a stainless steel type colour on the tanks, and I wanted to keep this more of a silvery type colour. So I painted that more of a chrome there. So again, this all needs to be sort of washed, and that'll occur in the next phase of the build. So that's the back end of the vehicle there. Now if we move on to the rest of the internal of the hull, you'll see that above the sponsons is the interior buff, again with some chipping underneath as well. You'll see some extra components which will come with the vehicle. They're ammo bags. Down here, so you could actually have a mix of ammo bags. They're generally for your brass and some ammo at the time, but they also used ammo boxes for the MG34, which is mounted here. So you could put the ammo boxes in as well. The vehicle doesn't come with any, so if you've got any in your spare box, you could certainly lay them here, and I would sort of put them in this region here, then have your ammo bags stacked towards the back. You've got your gyroscope sort of compass here, the black part being the working face of it, which is the correct colour for that is black, and then the rest of it is the beige sort of interior buff. Water bottle, which you can place there, just convenient for the driver's seat. The driver's seat and the seat for the hull gunner signaller. Again, the base of the seat, as in the bars that it sits on, is black, and the seat covers, there's a bit of conjecture whether it's black or dark green. In the Bovington tank they're dark green. In some of the documentation for the original Tigers states that they were black. However, I decided to go with the dark green with the black sort of fascia, the metal parts behind the seat face, just to make it sort of look a little bit better than just having this whole thing black. So I decided to go with that option, and you may not be able to see it, but just next to the seats there are some gas masks normal standard German gas masks, which are just sitting behind there as well. Moving backwards towards the rear panel here, this is the heat exchange basically. You see those little gaps here, they're vents that allows you to get heat in from the engine, so they're opened and closed by that handle there. And that has an on and off button. So I had a lot of decals in here which were destroyed unfortunately, so I'll have to wait. I'll have to show you again when I get the new ones in. And again, some ammo bags over on the side here. These two little handles here are for the engine, to start and prime the engine, and that's the primer there. Over on the side you'll see in the greyish green area two little circles of interior buff. They're two little circles, as you can see, with there's a needle inside it which is the grey-green colour. That's to indicate your fuel tanks to turn on and off. So it's to turn on and off your fuel tanks. So again, you can paint them the interior buffer in the green, which seems to be the correct colours. And of course you've got an fire extinguisher attached to the vehicle as well. Now you'll notice that there's a plate on there which you can get decals from Archer's Fine Transfers and put them on there as well. Now there's some conjecture about fire extinguishers in tanks, in Tiger tanks and German vehicles. If you go red for the internal fire extinguishers, generally you can't go wrong, because they did both. You'll see black ones, you'll see goldish or bronzy coloured ones, and you'll see red ones. On the external, you'll notice that later on there's an external fire extinguisher sitting about here, and that is fire extinguishers on the external of the vehicles are actually not red. Like you'll see in games like World of Tanks, and you'll see on some model forums the guys have painted them red. They're actually the same colour as the vehicle. So if the vehicle's tank grey, it'll be tank grey, Panzer grey. If the vehicle is dark yellow, it'll be dark yellow. Alright, so but internally, red you generally cannot go wrong. Now the conventions on red fire extinguisher like we have today didn't really come until the 1950s, so you've got a bit of flexibility there to sort of paint it what you want. But a suggestion would be is if you stick with red internally, you can't go wrong, and you're not actually incorrect. So that's pretty much the interior of the vehicle. You could add more water bottles if you want, because you can have water bottles sort of stashed around here if you want. It doesn't really matter. I just sort of stack it there because the kit only comes with 2. I didn't have any spares. But as I get some more spares, I'll sort of add more stuff in. That's the beauty about this type of model. You can always add stuff later on if you want to, because you're not gluing the tops down. So that's pretty much there. It's not as exciting as probably what you see elsewhere in terms of colouring, but that's about as correct as you're probably going to be able to find for the early model Tiger. If you're talking at the later mids and the late Tigers, the colours changed slightly again, because quite often they didn't paint the internals, they just left it in the oxide red. So you'll find that most of internally here and in the engine bay it's red. The engines and that'll still be black, and the tanks will still be a sort of a silvery colour, but a lot of the internals will actually be red oxide. But that was only for a small period of time, because there were so many complaints after about 2 months of doing it that they ended up reinstituting it again. And you can find some of the mid and lates will have a different colour, but when I eventually build one of those, I'll go through the details of that later, because there's specific time periods that you need to look up and check and be wary of, depending on the date that you're going to make the decision you're going to make on your actual tank and who it belongs to and what the turret number and that is. Alright, so there's the internals. I'll just quickly cover the turret roof. That's nice and easy. So again, interior buff. This is not as detailed as a real Tiger would be. You've got travel hooks and all that sort of stuff. You've got machine gun toolboxes mounted to the roof. All that sort of stuff that the kit didn't come with, and I don't have spare ones. So I didn't bother to put them on. Plus, if I'm going to show this vehicle with the roof off and the cover off and the back, the top of the vehicle off, I'm probably going to stow it anyway, so you're probably not going to see it. That's probably why they didn't put it in. But what you have here is the internals of the ventilation system. You can see one decal on there, which is their breathing tubes, but that would be on each one. The decal set only comes with one, and you've got these are the firing mechanisms for the smoke charges, and that on the external of the vehicle. But you've got a lot of other things on there as well, stuff to do with flares, all that sort of stuff as well, that is there as well. And again, if you wanted to, there's a few ejection pin marks in there that you could cover off if you want. I wasn't too bothered because I probably won't actually end up showing this. Again, the front plate, top plate of the vehicle there, undercover, underneath will be the grey-green. The front plate here with your machine gun mounted internally. Again, you've got the working parts which are black. So you've got the machine gun set up in there, which is going to be black. You've got the forward driver's area with the visor plates in there are black. So you can have a good look in there. Most of the working part there is black. Internal to that, as you'll see, there's the interior buff still there. And I painted the vision port green. I don't know if you can see, but there's a bit of a shine to it. Because what I did is when you look through tank vision plates, they have a greenish tinge to them. And so what I did is I painted that a bit of dark green behind it, and then I put some Testors clear parts, a couple of layers of that over the top, and let it dry so it looks like glass. So when you look at that from where I'm standing, you may not see it on the video, but there's a bit of a shine to it, which can pass off as a bit of a glass plate. Behind it you can see some chipping effects there from the same as what I did before, and you've got some more ammo bags here which kind of match up with the guy in there. But again, you can kind of change it around if you wanted to. The turret, I haven't put this together yet, mainly because I'm waiting for the decals, and I wanted to, I think for videoing it's better to leave it open, but that's kind of how it'll look there. And you'll see that there's a join there, which is going to be difficult because of the parts don't fit together extremely well. So again, whilst I'm on that subject right now, when I do put it together, I'll use this. So you can muck around with fillers and stuff like that, but it is a bit more delicate, so I'm going to fill it with clear parts, a couple of layers in there, until I get the seam that's gone, and then I'll paint over it. So that might be helpful to you as well. But here we have the internal to the loader's side of the turret, which is the left side facing forward. The first thing is that there's potentially an error here. Some of the documentation I came across, the loader in a Tiger actually sat backwards, so the seat would need to be the other way around, which the way the parts are moulded would be quite difficult to change around. So I just left it the way it is, but if you wanted to correct it, you could sort of change it around if you wanted to. I haven't decided whether I'll do that yet, but that's certainly an option for you. And again, black and the dark green. You're seeing here that it's again interior buff with some black. The working parts being black, so you've got the gun dampener, which is black. You've got the side vision port, which is black with again the same green and glass effect. You've got an MP40, which is black, and if you can see, there's some little decals that survived behind it that mention it's the MP. And you've got the communications box, which is black as well. The rest of it, like the gun documentation holder and a few of the storage bins, are interior buff. And you've got their replacement plates for your vision ports. So there's one on the other side as well. So again, I did those green. And the little line across the top is the holder that holds them in, which is interior buff. These two containers here are for your flare gun ammunition, and your the top ones for your headset and microphone, which sort of sits in there. There's one on the other side as well. The emergency hatch slash loaders hatch, that is actually really an emergency hatch. So I know the loader uses it sometimes to when they're loading up, reload the tank, but you can only actually close it from the outside. You can't lean from inside of the tank and close it. It's very, very heavy and it's not spring loaded. So I left it shut. Some of you guys might have it open, but I left it shut and with a bit more sort of chipping effect on there, just to indicate that it's been used a fair bit. And again, you've got more ammo packs, water bottle, gas mask. I stuck a couple of extra ammo packs in there, that just to sort of indicate that, you know, that's for the turret mounted machine gun, which would sit about here. What I've learned over the years is soldiers they'll stack stuff anywhere where it's going to make life easier for them, so they're just sort of sitting there for ease of the loader basically. But you could add more stuff in there if you wanted to, if you've got more sort of personal effects and that sort of sit in there for soldiers, if you've got any spare stuff. And again, you can always sort of add it later on. Notice here that these join the bottom of the vehicle here and join the turret floor to it. But notice that below the turret ring they are grey-green as well. So there's your delineation line there. So that's that side of the turret. The other side of the turret is the same. Below is grey-green, and this is for the gunner. His working parts are black. You've got the commander seat. Again, I kept the seat colours the same sort of colour. Black bottoms and dark green. This is the commander's manual turret rotation device, which is black. I'll get onto the gunner's one in a minute. The other working parts here are black. Again, some electronics for the gun firing system. You've got the gas masks. You've got the flare gun. More gas masks in there, and you've got some of the decals that survived again up in here, so it sort of mirrors the other side. Your microphone holder, your ammunition for your flare gun, and your vision port spare glasses in there. Now, as I sort of stated on the bottom, is where this is going to sit. This is going to sit, the turret floor. Turret floor itself, again, it's undercoated with red oxide and then oversprayed with a bit of chipping effect there with the grey-green on top and the bottom. Now, the gunner uses this base, these two pedals here, to rotate the turret, and that's your trigger mechanism for your machine gun, turret machine gun. So he uses his feet for those. Got a toolbox, that's the motor for the turret rotation, and this is fire extinguisher. Again, it's red. Again, when this is washed, it'll look a little bit darker and dirtier. And these are your water jerrys. Again, I painted the water jerrys in dark yellow. with some chipping on there, which is chipped either in a sort of a greeny colour and the sort of like a reddy iron oxide colour. But the over colour is the dark yellow, and you'll notice that there's a white part of a white cross. It's hidden by the holder, but the white cross indicates that it's water. So you need to put that on, and that's your bottom there. The last piece is the gun. Again, haven't painted the externals, but the gun itself is the same as the rest of the turret. The main part of the gun is going to be your interior buff. Your working parts being your your machine gun system, and your binocular system is black. You've got another little part there on top of the gun which is black. Now if we move to the back, this is a little bag that catches your shells. What that does is the shell comes out, bounces off the back of this, which is like a compressed hard leather, which is brown, and then goes into the bag. The bag's a khaki colour, but the top of the rim on the bag is a slightly darker green, so it's dark green with a sort of a khaki colour underneath. Then the rest of it is, which belongs to the gun mechanism itself, is your interior buff. Now this component here for your to raise the gun is a steel colour, and internal here, now on the instructions it talks about painting this green. It's not. It's like a silver to represent like a stainless steel type colour of the gun. So you've got the interior mechanism of the gun here is silver or aluminium, whatever colour you want to paint it, but to look like stainless steel sort of colour in here. And the outside face is very clean, so that's going to be oiled. So you'll find that, again, that's going to have a little bit of grease and stuff like that on it, but that's clean, and it's polished steel. So you'll see that on the outside there, and that's roughly the delineation line. So you can paint that like an aluminium-y sort of, any colour that you have that represents your sort of polished steel, if you will. And you've got a couple of decals. This one didn't really survive, it's kind of run, but that's it as well. But you'll find all these colours on the vehicle in those references that I spoke about, and if you do a search on it, use the wargaming.net videos or the books, and you'll find those as well. So that's pretty much the vehicle at this stage. The next stage is to just finish off the internals. When the decals arrive, construct this, put it together with the gun. I'll do a very quick short update on that. And I'm working on the external at the same time, doing the wheels, and I've got some Tiger 1 early tracks to go in there as well. The outside, as I said, is pretty much going to be Panzer Grey, and I'm using Humbrol Panzer Grey for that, tank grey. I like the Humbrol grey. I've got Model Master Panzer Grey, but I've decided to go with the Humbrol. I like that colour. I'm not a big fan of the bluish coloured Panzer Greys, and I'm not a big fan of the scale effects that people are talking about by lighting them, because at the end of the day the colour's still a colour. Just because you make something smaller doesn't necessarily mean you make it lighter. However, you can still, the shading in that I'll still have a look at. And of course it'll be Tank 411 is whitewashed, so that'll be the last effect on there. So that'll all be in part 3 and potentially part 4. So thanks for watching. Hopefully some of this information has been useful to you if you're doing an interior for a Tiger. Doesn't look so glamorous, I suppose, as some of the other ones that you might have seen. It's a bit duller. But I mean, that's the way it was. Remember, at the end of the day, they're trying to manufacture a lot of these tanks quickly and keep the schemes relatively simple and generic for cost effectiveness. So they're not going to try and make it as too complicated. The paint's on there to protect it for a reason, and and to sort of make the interior work a little bit better too, hence the lighter colour. Hey, hopefully it's been useful to you. If it has, leave a message. Let us know how you go. If you come across any issues or you think something's wrong, let us know, and we can have a look at that. But no, thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next stage.